Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Kevin Fishkind, and I serve as Federation's Vice President for Strategic Planning and Allocation, along with my co-chair, Julie Cass. My focus, however, is on Israel and overseas. First, I'd like to address the technology we'll be relying on today. Closed captioning is available for the program. If you look in the bottom right of your Zoom screen, you'll see a button, and you can click View Subtitle if you'd like closed captioning. If you have a question during the conversation, please use the Q&A feature also at the bottom of your screen. Finally, the program is being recorded today and will be shared with you in the coming days, and feel free to pass it along to other members of the community that you think would be interested in this topic. And now for a little background and framing on today's conversation. Over the last 8 months, I've had the pleasure of chairing our Israel Task Force, which is a group of community members from across the socio-political spectrum who truly share a love of Israel. It's been a true honor to help lead this effort and to guide numerous conversations on how our community can connect with Israel moving forward. Our conversations were lively, as you might imagine, and more importantly, the outcomes were motivating and inspiring. We really had an amazing journey as a group. Our goal now in strategic planning and allocations for Federation is to take those outcomes and turn them into actionable strategy for how Federation and the Washington, D.C. community can engage with Israel while making space for our differences. Our vision includes an exciting new approach to funding, programming, and fostering a growing relationship with Israel. What happens on the ground in Israel is only part of how we connect our two communities. Hearing different perspectives and engaging in immersive conversations on the ground here in Washington, D.C. is equally, in the D.C. area, equally important. And that leads to the reason we're hosting this Zoom today and this really important conversation. Today, we're all here to hear a conversation between Gil Prus and Radir Kamal Murray, Washington's first ever Druze Israeli special envoy. I had the honor of actually meeting Radir in person last week, after a few different Zoom sessions with her. And I think you'll all really enjoy this session today. I'm really proud to be a part of our Federation, especially with the lay leadership in strategic planning and allocation. It was a really awesome thing that we were able to pull this together, and we played an instrumental role of bringing Radir here to Washington, D.C., where we hope she'll have an amazing impact in her time here. At this point, I'm excited to turn things over to Federation's CEO, Gil Prus, to introduce Radir and begin the conversation. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for that introduction and for your continued leadership. It is really a pleasure and an honor to be working with you. Deepening our relationship with Israel and Israelis is a crucial element of Federation's work. Our community is fortunate to have such passionate and committed lay leaders and staff members helping us further our vision. We're also very grateful for our continued partnership with the Jewish Agency for Israel, with whom we have worked closely for many, many decades. Together, we have helped Israelis and Americans better understand one another through a variety of initiatives, including the Shlichim program. For more than 10 years, our Federation has brought Israeli emissaries, Shlichim, to our community to help us connect with Israel on a more personal level. Now, we are incredibly proud to be the first North American community to host the Jewish Agency's first Druze special envoy, Radir Kamal Murray. Radir's role in America, and in particular our nation's capital, is a vital step in deepening our connection with Israel and understanding Israel's diverse voices. Radir has had a fascinating career thus far, including as a journalist and as the first female Druze member of Israel's Knesset. And we will talk about all of these very soon. I'm very excited to be here today with Radir and to formally introduce her to our Jewish community. I'd like to welcome Radir and thank you all for joining us today. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Gil. Thank you all for having me.
So before we start, I just want to make sure that we are all pronouncing your name appropriately. That don't want to get that wrong. So could you just help us on that front?
Good luck with that. Ghadir. Ghadir.
Okay, Ghadir.
Ghadir, yeah.
So first of all, we introduced you as the first Israeli Druze woman of Knesset. My guess is that most people don't know that much about the Druze community. So could you first let people know about the Druze community in Israel before we even start the rest of the conversation?
So there are 150,000 Druze members in Israel. The total population of Druze in the world are 1.5 million. We live in the Middle East. The majority live in Syria. There are few in Jordan, Lebanon, and also in Israel. One of the important facts to know about Druze is that we do not have any national or territorial aspiration. We do not believe that one day we will have our own state. That is why we are loyal at first as members to the place that we were born in. That is why Israeli Druze soldiers in the past, in wars in Israel, sometimes fought against their brothers, Lebanese or Syrian Druze soldiers, because you are loyal at first to the country that you were born in. We have internal marriages. We live in mountains. Strategically, in the past, it gave you benefit when you had wars. And as Jews, we survived. Our religion started 1,000 years ago in Egypt, and we survived the persecutions and massacres. And we thrived. We played very major role in the Middle East, in Syria, and in Israel, in the Middle East as a minority. And today we are, I can say, very well integrated in the Israeli society, although there are domestic challenges that we have as any other country.
So your family has lived in the same community for how long?
I am the 8th generation in Israel.
What generation?
The 8th generation. The family came from Syria, the 8th generation living in Israel, yeah.
Okay. So I just want to give some context for the length of time. So my understanding is that the Druze community is a relatively conservative, traditional community, yet you consistently break new ground. A journalist, a Hebrew language journalist, a woman member of Knesset. How has that been for you within your community as you've pushed the boundaries both in Israel and I imagine within your own community?
Our community is, we having this procedure towards modernization and globalization, but I always say that it came with a delay of a couple of years. Although it is still patriarchal or traditional society, but look at me, I am here. I was a journalist, I was a member of parliament, I am here in DC as a senior envoy to my country, and suddenly our women thriving and succeeding and representing successfully, I can say, in every field. So there are changes as any other community also in the Druze minority. I am the eldest in my family. My father was a contractor. And I think that almost on every Saturday, on every Shabbat, we had our friends, Jewish friends, in our home for dinner, for lunch. We were very involved. My father donated and funded campaigns when it was in municipal elections. I was raised in a way that you are a social agent. You will not receive no as an answer. If you have something to say, say it. If you believe something should be changed, go and change it. As a child, I was enrolled in every course or class that you can imagine a child will be enrolled in. A performance and ballet and playing piano. By the way, the first song that my father wanted me to play was Toda, Shel Chaim Moshe, a famous Israeli singer. And I was in Tzofim, in the student council. I represented my village in delegations in terms of, we didn't live just as a minority in a limited prism. We were proud Israelis, and we're still proud Israelis. I remember as a child, in the day of independence, Yom Ha'atzmaut, my father decorating the car with the flags, traveling to the city of Haifa, seeing the fireworks, enjoying, feeling the sense of belonging, which is so important. And I think that Israel could be proud of the success story of integrating a minority within the Israeli society, although the challenges, like the Druze did, we are the loyalist minority living in Israel. We draft into army in the highest percentage, which is 82%. It is higher than the number among the Jewish sector. Think about the ramifications, the meanings of that. So there are a lot of aspects when we are talking about a minority being integrated in the society of Israel.
So there are several pieces that you talked about. On the one hand, I think a lot of pieces in terms of your growing up, there are probably a lot of people here who can, you know, the classes that they went to, the encouragement of their parents to succeed. I do want to note, I mean, the song that your father encouraged you to play, Todah, is all about thanking God for all the gifts that, you know, that they were given and how they were, you know, the opportunities that they have. And so it's a wonderful prayer in many ways, in terms of, you know, kind of being in this world and living. And it's clear that both in terms of the gifts that you were given and what you've created for yourself has been really tremendous. So definitely sounds like a great upbringing with many opportunities and aspirations. So before you went into politics, you became a journalist.
Yeah.
Why journalism? Why was that your path? I don't know if it was, you know, by chance or not, but why did you decide to go into journalism?
My mother remembered me as a child sitting when I was 6 years old in front of a mirror and broadcasting news. When I was 12 years old, I called a man who owned a local TV station saying, "Hi, my name is Ghadir. I want to volunteer." I had my own TV show when I was 12 years old because I realized since a very young age the power of those screens. The power of those screens in shaping and reshaping public opinion. When you decide what you are going to talk about, which issue you are going to address today, who you are going to interview, and what is the opening item of your program or news, you are helping people to understand things that you believe is important to know. And it is amazing to see that journalism is a way of shaping public opinion as leadership or as parliamentary work in other way. So when I started to broadcast, I was a journalist, and it helped me to see Israel, real Israel. I toured the country, Gil, north and south. I met Bedouins and Circassians and Christians and Muslims and Druze and Jews and mayors and religious leaders. I interviewed students and women. It helps you to understand things in a very high resolution, and beyond understanding, to go and to start to try to implement what you believe you should say or what should be done when we are talking in the macro perspective on shaping society or educating society. So there is a huge power of those tools or those platforms, but today the classic media is losing because today we are dealing with the new media platforms, which is totally different. So those tools have huge power. And if we know how to use it as leaders, as citizens, we can build a better future.
So are you optimistic about those new tools?
It depends which tools. It depends which tools. Our work also is with Hillel. And it is amazing to see how students today are evolved in a different way. Suddenly we need to respond. Suddenly those students are everywhere. You can see students in on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and suddenly we need to respond. And suddenly it creates a challenge for us when we are talking about creating or strengthening identity or fighting BDS. A young Jewish man who are sitting in the US in May and consuming news by new media and go to Twitter, read half a sentence, and consuming like those half details, those mis and disinformation and those fake news, and then go to Instagram and see a Palestinian child crying, and then go to Facebook and see a protest in New York City against Israel, and then go to Instagram and see something else with Israel. You know, it's confusing. Suddenly, as parents, we need to react, we need to respond. So it creates a huge challenge for us.
I mean, I think that we're all facing that, whether it's as parents with our children, whether it's the Jewish community within American society. How do we both understand the media and leverage it to the degree that we can, or at least respond in a way that, you know, kind of helps it support, you know, or enables people to understand really what is going on in a deeper way. During your time as a journalist, and one of the things that you talked about already was how much you learned about Israel. I mean, interviewing all those different people. Is there anything in particular that you would like to highlight, either a place, an interview, something that kind of got you, you know, that brought new meaning or understanding for you in terms of really Israel, even though that is, you know, your home country, but as a journalist that helped you understand more about it?
Through journalism, I realized how much we have amazing people in Israel, that we have different people from different backgrounds with different languages, but at the end of the day, although the differences share common values, to see this diversity, to know that there is no racist society. Racist is, or society is what you feed as leader, as a leader or as leadership. To see that the people are good. At the end of the day, the people truly believe in shared society, want to live together, and trying to find their path, their mutual path, in which you can be an Arab, you can be a Jew, you can live in Nazareth, in the Golan Heights, you can live in the Negev as anything. At the end of the day, it is important to understand that our diversity is our social resilience. And it is very essential to know that in two levels, as a government, as an administration, and as society. Once you know that you are closing the gaps, you are creating equal opportunities, you are making people to really know who is living in the nearby village or the nearby town, you are building a strong society. Israel today is a regional superpower. I read yesterday, our GDP is 14 times that of Egypt, is 8 times that of Iran, is 6 times that of Lebanon, it is double than Saudi Arabia. We spend 5% of our GDP on research. It means Israel today as a state is a strong state in this crazy neighborhood called Middle East. And it is so important to strengthen the truly to work hard to strengthen shared society, what people need. And by understanding that my diversity, my rich mosaic that I have is my uniqueness as a state, is my diversity. By that, we are strengthening our social resilience.
So, and I want to come back to kind of that broad range of identities and the impact, but something also, but you left journalism and decided to go into politics. Now, you know, in this country, journalism and politics may not be that different in some ways, but I think in Israel, it is a shift, even though I guess you have historic journalists who've gone into politics before. Why did you make that decision? What led you to enter that side of Israeli society and leadership, as opposed to continuing in elevating issues and influencing people through journalism?
On the 4th of August 2018, my community, the Jewish community, arranged a huge rally in Rabin Square against the nation-state law. The nation-state law was a basic law that the Knesset legislated in the summer of 2018 to ensure that Israel is the historic homeland of the Jewish people, refusing to mention or to add the value of equality, civil equal rights, not national rights, to all of its citizens. I was there. I broadcasted live the event to IPBC, the Israeli Public Broadcasting Corporation, from Rabin Square, interviewing people, talking, discussing the issues, and hearing people chanting Shivyon, Shivyon. Shivyon in Hebrew means equality. This is the demands, Shivyon, equality. I was there and hearing their voices. And as an anchor woman, you should need to broadcast, to talk, to discuss, and that's it. This is your limits. And I read the law, I studied the law, and I saw I have no problem with the law. We all respect our country. We all respect the symbols of my country. I respect the flag. I sing our national anthem, Hatikva, although I am not mentioned then as a minority. We all know that Israel is the historic homeland of the Jewish people, but refusing to ensure equality as an important value, like in other democracies in the world, is wrong. This basic law is going to be our ID, our identity, the opening chapter of our constitution in the future. So the nation-state law, not what was written in it, what they missed, what they refused to add in it, was the reason why I decided to go to politics. And we worked with A-list jurists in Israel. I worked with Eliakim Rubinstein, with Shachar Lifshitz, with Asa Kasher. Two of them wearing kippah, belongs to the right wing, saying Israel is the historic homeland that must ensure equality, as it was written in the Declaration of Independence in chapter 13. Israel will ensure complete equality to all of its inhabitants, irrespective of sex, race, or religion. And we tried twice to make this important amendment, but we didn't succeed. It was crazy days of the parliament. I'm sure all of you followed. We have 3 elections in just 2 years. It was very tough days, but the feeling, if we are talking, Gil, about the sense of belonging, it is still a turning point. It is still a traumatic period of time for minorities living in Israel, and seeing the country refusing to mention them as an equal or equal citizens.
So besides changes in the law itself and the wording, what other changes were you hoping to create along with your definition in Israeli society?
In general, changes that I believe should be implemented?
Yeah, I mean, around these issues. I mean, you talked about the distinction between, the national versus the civil, and what is, and how you think about that.
It is a global phenomenon, although it's a global wave that we are seeing, preferring nationalism rather than democratic values. It became something that we see it in many countries. We are seeing that in recent years in the US, we saw it in Europe in many aspects. But the equality, not as a cliche, as a real value that must be implemented in any society that seeks to survive and to thrive in the 21st century, is so important. Closing the gaps, really creating equal opportunities, and not to see the gaps in Israel, even geographically between periphery and Tel Aviv. This is so important. And it is about education. It is about real understanding of leadership, how I seek, how I believe my society should be in the 21st century, how Israel want to be in the 21st century. Am I wanted to be part of limited club, or I wanted to be a leading democracy in the modern era as a liberal, vibrant democracy. By the way, we are there. It means although the domestic issues that we are dealing between ourselves, like in any other country, we still a vibrant democracy. Sorry. We still the villa of the jungle in many aspects. We still the island of stability. It means there are a lot of aspects that we can be proud of, but at the same time, we are evolved enough, mature enough as a state, as organization, as a society in many levels, also to talk about all the challenges and to think together how we can build a better future for the next generations.
Thank you. So you served in the Knesset for one term, 2 terms? I can't remember.
Oh, Gil, do you want me really to say the first term, the first cadence was just 29 days?
Oh, right.
An unprecedented event. You know, my life is so interesting. I should be there. When there are unprecedented events, I should be there. First cadence, 29 days. Nobody succeeded to form a government. Another election, September 2019, and another election in March 2020.
So over the course of a year, you were in 3 different Knessets?
2 years. 2 years, 3 elections, yeah.
That must be a record.
And 1 woman.
And 1 woman. That must be a record. But at some point, you decided to step away. You decided that you were no longer going to run and be part of the party list. Why did you do that?
On March 2020, when Gantz decided to join the government with Bibi, and both of them refused to make this important amendment in the nation state law and to add it to the coalition agreements, I refused, although they put a lot of pressure on me to be a minister in that unity government. I refused. I prepared to work in the opposition. I knew that it will not last for a long time. It took half a year till December 2020, and it was dissolved. Day after it was dissolved, I told Lapid, like we say in dates, it's me, it's not you. In terms of, I realized that there is a lot of work that we need to do beyond parliament, to start to educate, to go back. For me, education starts since day one, not just in kindergarten. This is how I educate my children, to real values, to real Zionism, to how Israel should be, who we are as a society. When I realized that we are suffering from a crisis, sometimes of, we don't know enough about each other. We care less about each other. I know that we can change by being or making commitments beyond Israel, to talk about those issues, not just in Israel, to come here and to talk as a Druze woman living in the periphery of Israel and providing and bringing with me the authentic, the honest way of look. Here I am. Ask me anything you would like to, anything you feel it is important to know, anything that you are afraid of, worry, want to know. Ask me, challenge me. I will tell you the honest, the most accurate status or situation of any issue you would like to know. And this is so important. And this is the time to extend and to expand our work. And one of the sentences when I educate students in campuses, I told them always in one of the research, it's written that you will take home with you just 17% of what you have been taught in the lecture. I told them, please take one sentence. Don't talk about them, talk to them. Don't talk about them, talk to them. Don't talk about Israelis, go and talk to Israelis. Don't talk about minorities, travel to Israel, go to an Arab town and a Druze village, talk to them. And this is what led me here, to bring those voices, to share the stories, and by that, to strengthen our relationship and to strengthen our identity.
So I want to transition now actually to the time of coming here and your work in the United States. I imagine being a shlicha, an emissary for the Jewish Agency, was not necessarily an early aspiration like journalism when you were growing up. But you decided, recently, last year, that this was something that you wanted to take on. Love to hear both kind of, why, and then also what's been most, kind of interesting so far during your time here.
As I said, I'm here in order to challenge myself, to understand better, and beyond understand, to bring other Israel. I believe that for some people today, this is the first time that they are hearing, although not in person, by Zoom, but hearing a Druze woman talking about minorities, potential challenges, the shared society. And I'm glad to see that we are on the same page. And I'm glad and proud to be part of this important project with you, Gil, with the Federation, with our amazing partners and leaders, to help each other, to support each other, to build a better community, to strengthen Israel, to think about what we share, to think about what unites us, to think about how we can build really a better future for the next generation. And being part of this project in which everyone comes from his field, with his understanding, with his languages, it is amazing. I always introduce myself as an Israeli, but not Jew, as an Arab, but not Muslim. My religion is Druze, so I am a Druze. My mother tongue is Arabic, I am an Arab. I live in Israel, I'm a proud Israeli. Think about the complexity, think about the identity. And it is amazing that sometimes I feel the connection between us from different aspects. For example, Druze in Israel are also 2%. We are also a minority living in Israel that are, having this sensitive balance in which on one hand, we want to maintain our identity, like Jewish community here want to strengthen or to keep or to maintain the unique identity of Jewish community. But on the other hand, we want to feel this important sense of belonging. I belong as a Druze to the state of Israel, to a larger circle. And Jewish communities here are essential part of the US, of the fabric, of the structure of the society. So you want to belong, but you want to maintain your identity. You want to respect, you want to belong to the religion, to the culture. Wow. And each one of us is a complex of those factors, of those identities, and working together, it is amazing. And doing that in the name of pluralism, with deep understanding of inclusion, of diversity, of equality is so important. This is the time to do it. And I'm glad and proud to be part of this.
So you talk, quite a bit so far, but in general about kind of your multiple identities, who you are and your sense of self, both, obviously in Israel and then also in the United States. Have there been any moments where, those multiple identities have either you've been surprised or you've surprised others with who you are and kind of and what you represent as an Israeli Druze woman who's here in the United States?
2 months ago when we arrived, we were hiking in the Great Falls in the Maryland part, not in the other part of Virginia. And my son, Liam, we were hiking. It was a little bit dangerous for a Polania mother, Druze Polania. So I called him Liam, shwai shwai. Shwai shwai in Arabic means step by step, slowly. And there was a man nearby. And when he heard me saying shwai shwai, he said, hi, Arabic. Morocco? I said, no. Israel? He said, no. Israel? Don't you say Palestine? I said, no, there are Arabs in Israel. He said, what? I said, yeah. Do we have 2 million Arabs living in Israel? Almost 20% of the population are Arabs. Gil, to see how he was shocked to know that there are Arabs living in Israel. It was shocking to me to see him. An adult living in the US doesn't know this important fact. So I conclude how much it is important to educate. Sometimes it became so trendy, so superficial to criticize, even without knowing basic details, where Israel exists on the map. By the way, this is our major challenge when we are talking about Gen Z, the Generation Z, when we are talking about students in Hillel. A lot of things became superficial. They consume sometimes half news here, read something, see photos here, and you cannot develop real opinions and stands without knowing facts and narratives and numbers and history, without studying. And it requires us all the time to be everywhere. Suddenly you want to touch those students by invite them to Zoom, but also arranging in-person conferences and having panels. We should be everywhere, and it is very challenging.
And I mean, I think that's a fascinating kind of story in terms of people understanding what is Israel, what it's not, who are Israelis, and kind of and the challenge that you put in front of them in so many ways, which is a combination of the complexity of who you are and your relationship to Israeli society, particularly the Druze community's relationship to serving in the army, to being leaders in Israeli society and being integrated, as a strong minority within a larger country. And I think it forces people to think very differently, both about their own assumptions as well as Israel and what it is and its possibilities. When you go to college campuses, a lot of people are worried about the conversation and what is going on college campuses these days. What do you see in your conversations? What do you see as the dynamic? And what do the students take away the most from your conversations? Do they understand what you're trying to say? Do they take that message with them when they then go out? How do they react to you?
Last event that I had in Johns Hopkins, I had a Muslim student from Saudi Arabia with a Jewish students wearing kippah. All of us were talking about Israel. And the most important thing that I want them to take home is to understand the complexity, not just the beauty, and to think and develop their own stance about Israel. Because when we are seeking to create deep engagement for the long term, not just superficial, propagandas, everything is pink and perfect and gold. No, look at the complexity, but feel free to say anything. My major challenge is to make them understand, if you criticize, it's okay, just come and talk. Know that there is always place and table and room to come, to talk, to agree, to disagree, to discuss, to challenge one another, and to build together as major players our future. I'm afraid that some people are afraid to say what they feel. And our major challenge to tell them, it's okay. The fact that you think different than me, it doesn't mean that you like less your country or you are connected less than your country, because you criticize when you care. I will be afraid when they stop talking, will do nothing. If they go and talk as social agents, we need to encourage them, but also to encourage them to do that based on knowledge. When I meet a student talking about, I am BDS fan, to go to details, to let him know that BDS doesn't recognize of our right to exist, that you believe that Palestinians are victims, go back to talk about facts. Who refused Peel in 37, Peel decision? Israel accepted, they refused it. Who refused to accept the UN partition in 47? Israel accepted, they refused it. Through the whole process of negotiation and peace and war, still Barak, what Barak in Camp David in 2000, 2001, Camp David, Taba, was willing to give 96% of the West Bank to return the whole Gaza Strip, $30 billion compensation of the refugee. And they said, no, it means we should feed them with knowledge, with information. Of course, and I highlighted, there is no dichotomy, wrong and bad and black and white. It is very complicated conflict, but to encourage them to come to talk, and that it should be based on knowledge, not superficial propagandas against Israel and with Israel. This is our major challenge.
So, but you ask people to live in that complexity, to understand that. That's not the commonplace. I mean, for most people these days, people want, a lot of people want simplicity, they want clarity, they want a singular answer of good and bad. But you're asking people to reject that and to say, no, there's a lot of complexity, both within Israel and within the region. Can people process that? I mean, have you found that, or is that still a struggle?
I would not say I am coming to tell them reject that. I am coming to tell them dive, go to high resolution. This is what I encourage my children to do. By the way, my children, this is a different generation. I remember as a child, I was what my parents fed me. They decided what I should know in age 12. When Tom, my eldest, came back home from school and told me what happened in Afghanistan, what is happening with the withdrawal of the US in Afghanistan, and I needed as a parent to respond. This is what I am talking about. This is a game changer. Those teenagers are exposed to everything, and we need to come to manage everything back again. It means I tell them, look at me. I am a walking example of this complexity. I was there as a former member of Knesset. I criticized the government when it was needed. I protested when it was needed, not just as a leader, as a citizen, to fill my duty, to play a major role. Do you remember what my father told me? You will never receive no as an answer. You have something to say, say it. In May, for example, you cannot sit on the sofa and watch TV. I protested and filmed and posted and tweeted. And I talked about we are brothers, anachnu achim, and go. I took my children with me. So those are different levels of education, of social activism, of knowledge, of raising awareness. But to do it, not to be afraid to do it in a deep way when we are seeking to do that for the long term. Coming to say this patronage, everything is perfect, forgot what it doesn't work anymore, not with them.
So we're going to go to some questions that people have posted. I encourage people who are watching, if you have further questions, please post them. I will try to group them by different topic areas. And we will touch on them. So first of all, when you announced that you were coming, or as you were thinking about coming as a shlicha for the Jewish Agency, were you at all worried about the reaction of other people from within the Druze community or within the broader Arab community in Israel to this role? And if so, what was the reaction?
It is divided. Some didn't like it. They thought that I'm going to implement an extreme right-wing agenda or vision. I believe that the most beautiful thing in my personality is being honest, in bringing me as a discussion that I am sit with you, Gil, and drinking coffee and talk about everything in a very authentic way. We are not coming to sell propagandas or to sell pink Israel or bad Israel. We are coming to talk about real Israel, words and all. And by this, to think how together we can strengthen our relationship, how we can make teenagers or women from Israel and from here to meet, to talk. Where can we intervene? Seeing you as a federation, looking for organizations, non-Jewish organizations in the periphery of Israel is amazing. Seeing you investing, supporting, looking for people, not just the ultra-Orthodox from Jerusalem, not just the startup from Tel Aviv, seeking beyond, it is amazing. And being the leading community here in Greater Washington, to recognize that, to realize that, and to support that and be invested in those real diversity is so important, because some communities just talk about the beauty and maybe totally behave differently. but being invested is so important. So this is the message, to work together to achieve those goals, to build stronger community here and a stronger state there.
Thank you. One other question, and these will move around a little bit. So what have you found to be the biggest misunderstanding of the Druze community that you would like people perhaps to know about? Or maybe you don't know what the biggest misunderstanding is, but is there anything in particular that you just would like people beyond what you already said?
I encourage people to know. Sometimes you have these associations and stigmas and the labeling of, if I see a Druze man, so I will think 1, 2, 3, or a Druze woman. Go and meet people. It could be Druze, he could be Bedouin from the Negev, or sometimes I am amazed, Gil, to see the lack of knowledge. Sometimes I am amazed that people think that Israel is Hakotel, Israel is Jerusalem and nothing beyond. Please go and travel and meet. If you are coming to my village, to Dalat al-Carmel, and eat the delicious hummus, Lebanese, za'atar, pita, go beyond, go to Beit Yad Lebanim. We talked about it in our previous Zoom, that Hatikva, our national anthem, was written in Dalat al-Carmel, which is today Beit Yad Lebanim, where we commemorate our soldiers, the Druze soldiers who fell protecting the country. Take a local good guide. Go and think about our history. Listen about how much our history is intertwined, how we helped and supported and to establish the state, how we fought to establish the state. It means sometimes seeing an adult knowing 0 or knowing 2% of our minorities, I feel bad of that. And it's not just about Druze, it's about human being, to educate, to know each other. When we are talking about shared society in Israel, there is shared society, but to come from Tel Aviv on Saturday eating za'atar is not shared society. Shared society is the ability or the willingness to know about the other, about everything about the other, who is living in the nearby town, who is living in the nearby village, Jews, Muslim, doesn't matter who is she. This is the real shared society that we are seeking to have.
So you also partially answered one other question that was asked. One of the people said, in the past on visits or missions, people would go, and as you said, they might go to Dalat al-Carmel and meet someone. They may have a meal in someone's house, but it's more superficial, right? And the question that they asked is really, if you have any advice, but I think you answered it in terms of how to really have a conversation and an exchange beyond that superficial. So communities and people really get to know each other.
Education is a procedure. What you implement and what you plant now, you will see it in the next generation. I want to believe that if I talk to students today, in 5 years, in their next trip to Israel, I want to believe that they would like to go beyond, not just as a Disneyland, to come to see, to eat, to absorb, and to go back home, to challenge, to know, to read, to consume, to absorb the atmosphere.
So I'd like to thank you. There's, I guess I have one more question that I do want to ask beforehand, which has been up there. One of the issues that arose in May during the most recent conflict was the internal tensions within Israeli society, between particularly in mixed cities where Jews and Muslims both live, and internal clashes. Would love to know if you have thoughts or advice in terms of both understanding what happened and a sense of what the future might look like.
What happened in May was very serious, very dangerous, and I personally predicted that. I warned when I was interviewed. I talked about, again, in a macro perspective, country must provide equality to all of its citizens. Once you see these gaps, when you see, do you know what, even sometimes it's about sense of belonging. If Arab citizen maybe would feel that he doesn't matter what he could do for the state, he will not consider to be an A-class citizen. Maybe it is about sometimes sense of belonging. And it was very dangerous to see that. By the way, when we are talking about terminology, saying mixed city, it's not, even we can start by changing terminology. Let's call it shared societies, shared cities. Nobody makes it. We share something in Lod, in Jaffa. It means sometimes it's responsibility of leadership. What happened 2 years ago in Nahariya, there was floods. Muslims people from Mazra came to help their brothers. Jewish people from Nahariya who lost their restaurants and the stores and their businesses. With their tractors, they came to help them. When we have leaders who highlight this and support this and talk about what we share, this is how we build a stronger society. We talk about the diversity as a factor that can strengthen our social resilience. This is what I am talking about, to really develop shared society. I had a meeting with the Steinmeier, the German president, this summer. He was in Jerusalem, want to talk about shared society because I was the head of the parliamentaric friendship group, Germany-Israel. He told us that in Germany, they started building, sharing buildings. They wanted people from different backgrounds to live in same buildings in Germany, to educate them to live, to let them live with each other, with their children, with their gardens, with everything. This is how you build a strong society, by being belonged to, with no gaps, with total equality.
Thank you. Before we finish, is there anything else that I missed that you would like people to know, either about you, why you're here, just before we sign off? Allow
me to thank you all for this important work that all of us are doing, and to remember that sentence of talk to them, don't talk about them, talk to them. I believe that when we are talking about education, it is so important to encourage people to talk about each other in order to understand each other.
Well, thank you so much, Odile. It has been a pleasure to talk with you and for having a chance to really have a conversation about really important issues facing Israel and America and the global community today. I'd like to thank Kevin Fishkind for setting the stage for us and to our entire Israel task force for all their work. And a very special thank you for everyone who joined us for this webinar today. Federation's work here in Washington, on the ground in Israel and around the world could not happen without your generous support and the support of many other dedicated donors. We are so grateful to everyone who supports our efforts by giving to our annual campaign, which helps fund work like bringing Odile to Washington and so much more. Many thanks to those who have already made a gift to the 2021 campaign. If you'd still like to do so before the campaign closes on December 31st, please visit shalomdc.org/donate. And finally, if you're looking for an even more hands-on way to connect with Israel, consider joining us this May for our Israel Your Way mission. More information about that can be found at shalomdc.org and will be shared via email as well. Thank you again and have a very wonderful and happy New Year.